Welcome, Recapor.
2015, a year of revolution, a year of tragedy, a year which we will remember in history as a year which will have changed our world forever. Why? 1 million people or so, dared to come to us, dared to come to the world they had seen on internet, they had heard about, and a world which they have been feeding with their resources. Cheap resources coming to us, expensive Mercedes-Benzes going back. And they came to us and had a look. Thousands died on the way. Thousands are held as slaves, abused, killed, cut, held as hostages as we speak. But yet these people are coming, and these people have changed us, will change us. They're heroes. They're real heroes because they showed us, in fact, what doesn't work. They helped, in a way, this man to become a president who just was elected a few days ago. They're helping, through their sheer presence, their simple presence, a lot of people to regret the past and imagine a future which is filled with the hatred of the past. Our society has demonstrated its worst and its best. We have seen an incredible mobilization of civil society, incredible mobilization of forces we didn't have for a long time because we were wealthy, healthy, we were very well. We discovered that one half of us, at least, hasn't been going on that trip, on that journey to a globalized, open, modern world where we're all together, where it doesn't matter anymore where you're from, where it doesn't matter anymore who you are, but you're coming together as one, humankind. They have shown us as well, and that is also clear, that we have forgotten, as Europeans, we're here in Europe, forgotten that Europe was initially a peace project, that Europe was created because of a not anymore, never again. That was the motivation. That was our motivation after the Second World War, to establish structures which would ensure peace. And yet Europe has lived through its longest peace period. But in all of that got lost. Europe has become an economic project. It's about expansion, it's about competition, it's not anymore about social inclusion, about a modern system which helps all the people living in there to come and thrive. And then there is a third point which the 1 million people or so brought to us. And that's the world I'm coming from, that's the world of charity. A world of charity which was invented sometime by the church, Islam, through zakat. Charity means giving and handing out. So we have been giving a little bit back what we were taking, the rich giving to the poor. Traditionally, historically, that has always been the principle. And again, after the Second World War, the world said, well, let's invent the modern system of help, of assistance. How did it look like? Our parents received care packages, given by rich people to the poor people, the poor Europeans at the time. Our parents were put together and helped to restructure with the Marshall Plan. It was about giving. It was about development. The United Nations were created as the architecture of bringing the world together. Different agencies of the United Nations, NGOs were created Doctors Without Borders started helping in a maybe different way. The International Red Cross, others, many, getting out and doing good, saving lives. That was in a world coming out of the shock of the Second World War. And now here, looking into what has happened here, is a message by this million people on behalf of 21 million refugees, a very small portion of all the people in desperation in the world. Let's be clear, let's not get excited about 21 million people only, let's get excited about 3 billion. 3 billion who live below $2.50 a day. 1 billion, 1.2 billion actually, below $1 a day. 800 million who have gone hungry today. This is dramatic. It's not about the 21 million and the 1 million who came out of the 21 million to us. It's much more complex. It's much bigger. So that has suddenly sparked also a rethinking of what is that, what we have been doing to share a little bit. Let me repeat the numbers again, the figures. $25 billion is all what the world produces for humanitarian aid. That's peanuts. Be ashamed in donations, in charity. 250 billion, again, peanuts. That's the famous development aid to make people happy somewhere on the other side of the world. So somewhat, we need to rethink. Somewhat, we need to get out of this mode of just let's give 5 euros more. Yes, I can put up a box out there and you give 5 euros because I've spoken to you, now you feel guilty. We all feel guilty. But it's not about the 5 euros. It's about changing the system. It's about adjusting the system to the 21st century. That is what counts. That's what we have to get to, and that's what this stands for. That means reboot, open source. It means connectivity. It means moonshots. So let me try to move on what is the system for the future. Not only about doom and gloom. Yes, we have actually the chance to be this, connected, modern, different. A lot is happening in this regard. Everywhere in the world, social entrepreneurs, social impact funds, people thinking of how we can build up coalitions to have cheaper vaccinations, cheaper medicines. How can we share renewable energies in a different way? Amazing powers have been unleashed. And I think, especially since last week, now it is our turn to do even more. But there's one problem. All the people who are believing in this, in change, in an open world, are not enough connected. We are not thinking as one. We still go back and say, oh, maybe we should donate more to the United Nations or to the NGOs or the different other aid outfits. Some are grassroots-based and some are others. We had the abysmal humanitarian summit in Istanbul a few months ago, discovering that 0.3% of our aid is going to grassroots organizations. Yes, there were commitments. It was a mess. I still don't know why I went there. I have no idea what was discussed. For me, it is clear the system is not broke, the system is broken. The system has to become connectivity. The system has to be brought together, maybe a little bit like TED is doing. TED is an example of a global network, totally decentralized. We are today in Linz, as in the same time there are other TEDx events anywhere in the world. Are they connected? They're connected through one idea, through one incubator, through one central point. So that is what the new system is about. We're not talking about setting up a big corporate new agency which is changing the world. We're talking about creating a small, very effective global incubator for change. There are situations everywhere which deserve attention. Remember, it's not about 21 million refugees, 40 million internally displaced people. No, it's about 3 billion poor people. It's about sharing resources in a more open and free way. So, we do not need to create new headquarters. We do not need to create a multi-billion-dollar operation. We're creating a decentralized network of resources and capacities. That's what we're building now. That's our moonshot. That's what we're doing as we speak, bringing the forces of money, of know-how, tech, and commitment together into one web. We have the internet, we have the connectivity, we have incredible capacities to bring it all together. We're not using it enough. We're leaving the space to the negative forces who are much stronger than we are, who want to change this world to a positive world, to a more open world. So let's bring these small thousands, tens of thousands of initiatives together, bring them all into one big global web of connected, social, impact-oriented resources. I will put that into a more practical dimension. How does it look like? I will talk about what I'm doing with my friends, what we are doing together, for instance, now in northern Greece. Northern Greece. What's the situation? 20,000 newcomers. No liquidity in the market, poor people, Greeks are losing their homes because they can't pay their mortgages anymore. There are issues with the environment, there are issues with a collapsing tourism nobody has invested in for a long time. What do they need? Do they need charity, or they need what all people are needing? Perspectives. So here we're bringing together in an integrated way a number of resources from different places on Earth, putting them and pooling them into one place, creating a new impetus, a new dynamic in an area which is about doom and gloom. What is the trigger? 20,000 newcomers. In the same way, let's look into what's going on in Iraq. My former colleagues from the United Nations and NGOs are doing a heroic job out there. Fantastic. Rushing supplies to the outskirts of Mosul, having built up 60,000 places in camps around the city of Mosul. In the same time, that whole country is crying for perspective. Let's look into the places which have been liberated or have become, as others are saying, accessible. Has anything happened in there except charity? No, nothing has happened. However, in the same time, capital is sleeping somewhere else in the world. Technology is available somewhere else in the world. We can bring it together so that in the places which are accessible, positive things are happening. So let's make these positive things happen. Let's bring them to the places where they matter. Especially these days, I'm obsessed in looking into what capital is actually out there. Everybody will tell you, everybody who is managing pension funds, insurance funds, whatever funds, will tell you they are bored because, in fact, they're losing money. They don't know anymore what to do. I know a number of places where that money can help. I know a lot of places where we can do wonders with money. And now some of you will say, well, this is all about bad capitalists. Yes, it's about bad capitalists. They made money with money and there were profits and so on. But because of 1 million people, everybody has started thinking about it. And people who have never been talking about social impact suddenly begin to understand, hey, something is really beginning to be very wrong out here in the world. Maybe we need to think. A couple of weeks ago, I was speaking in a real estate event in Dallas, of all places, a short while before the elections. What was going on there? Doing a similar speech as here today, suddenly people from the real estate industry come to me and say, hey, I understand that I have resources which I can put for the good to the world. Somebody even came and said, I'm going to build a business complex for $1 billion. And once that's finished, we're going to sell it for $1.5 billion. And the $500 million we make, we will put into the anti-trafficking struggle. I'm fed up to see this happening. So here again, somebody has started thinking. So let's put that into our connected world. Let's put that into what this stands for. There's a solution for everything already. We just heard an amazing story about what little plants can do. Everybody will tell you how we can produce new forms of energy, how we can, through a combination of positive digitalization, invention, tech, social consciousness, create sustainable systems out there. It is possible, but we need to connect the dots. And that's what we are now doing, what we're building as we speak. It's the organization of the future, decentralized, connected, and bringing all the forces of the world to a positive development so that we have a future and don't need to look back to the past. Thank you.